welcome here. It's a privilege for me to come here tonight and try to tell you a few funny stories. And all the money that we make, of course I get half for booze for myself, the other half goes to Jimmy. But you never saw a leprechaun this small before, did you? Anyway, I want to thank Sharon for inviting me. I was here last year. I thought I'd never hear from them again, but misery loves company, so I'm back again. Anyway, first of all, I got to paint you. I'm going to tell you some little stories. Some of them you might like and some you might not like. But anyway, it's a beautiful Saturday morning. And these four fellas are on the golf course, you see. And of course, they're all married. So, as they're on the first tee, each one, Tony, he says, what did you have to promise your wife to do to get off to play golf? He says, well, I have to paint the kitchen. And the second fellow, what have you got to do? He says, I got to clean the garage and cut the grass. And the third fella, he has to fix the tile in the bathroom. They're going along, and after a while they say, Alan, you never told us. What do you have to promise to do? He says, nothing to it. I set the alarm clock for 5:30. I woke up, I give her an elbow. I said, darling, what will it be? Intercourse or golf course? She replied, don't forget your sweater. There's this fella Tony thing, and he's going to get married. And he's standing there with his beautiful wife to be, and she has her bouquet, and the minister, he's ready to start the service. And she looks over and she sees there's a golf bag alongside of his lane. She says, what are you doing with that golf bag? He says, this won't take all day, will it? Angelo comes home after 18 holes of playing golf. And he's tired and says, get me a beer before it starts. His wife gets him a beer, he drinks it down. Get me a beer before it starts. She's a little bit, you know, he turns on the television, flops himself on the sofa. He says, he drinks the beer down and says, get me a beer before it starts. She says, you're a drunken oaf. All you want to do is sit around and drink and watch the television. I knew it would start. See, I told you. Angelo, he's playing golf one day, and he looks over, he sees his caddy. He says, will you stop looking at your watch? You keep looking at your watch. The caddy, this is a compass. Let's see. Oh, Angelo was out with his friend Mike, and they're on the first tee. Angelo says, my wife says, if I don't give up golf, she's going to leave me. His friend says, what are you going to do? He says, I'll miss her a lot. So anyway, the police come out to Tony's house. There's a living room. His wife is dead on the floor. And there's a golf iron, a 3-iron alongside. So the police officer does a complete investigation. He says, you know, it would appear that you struck your wife 8 times with a 3-iron. He says, I did. Could you put me down for a 5? O'Reilly is ready to tee off. He's standing next to his friend, and the funeral procession starts by. He takes off his hat, holds it over his heart, and he says, Pastor, that's a wonderful thing that you showed to that decedent. He says, yeah, too bad, but we would have been married 25 years tomorrow. Let's see what I hear. Oh, this is the old couple get married, see. And they're laying there in the bed, and the husband says, you know, I really didn't tell you everything, but my first love is golf. So his wife says, well, I'd like to tell you a few things. She says, actually, all my life, I've been a hooker. Murphy jumps out of bed. He says, you know, if you spread your legs a little, you have to be there, too. Let's see. Anyway, this 84-year-old man goes to the doctor, see, And the doctor, he's talking to the doctor, and he says, my 18-year-old wife is pregnant. And the doctor said, well, let me tell you a story. My friend Charlie, he was quite a hunter. So one day, when he went out, he grabbed the umbrella instead of his rifle out of the stand by the front door. And he went out to the woods. And there was a big bear came right at him. And so he raised up the umbrella and squeezed the handle and bang! The bear was dead. And the old fellow said, well, it must have been somebody else. The doctor said, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Riley had this dog, and it died. Oh, it was so sad. It was so sad. He went down to see Father Murphy. He said, I was wondering, Father, could you say a little service for my dog Fido? The priest says, we don't say masses for animals. But there's some new religious group down the street, and I don't know what they're about. Perhaps you could go down there. Murphy says, do you think 60,000 pounds would be enough for a service? The priest says, why didn't you tell me the dog was Catholic? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Mr. and Mrs. Murphy, they're sound asleep. The phone rings, he picks it up, he screams in, how the hell would I know that's 100 miles from here? He slams down the receiver. Mrs. Murphy says, what was that? Who was that? What did they want? He says, I don't know. Some guy wanted to know if the coast was clear. Murphy gets this job in this fancy Italian restaurant. He has a waiter. And he's standing there, and by the door, he's got his hand, and he's watching this couple. It's so romantic with the candle flitter, and they're golden handles go. All of a sudden, the guy slides off the seat right under the table. He runs right over. He says, Madam, your husband, he just slid under the table. And he says, not my husband. My husband just came in that door. The widow Quinn was living in this housing development for older people. And she hadn't been to a dance in many, many years. Her daughter was there. She says, why don't you go with Mr. Smith? They're having a little dance down at the hall. She said, all right. So and the daughter said, I'll wait here till you come home. So when her mother came home, she says, how was it? How was it, Mother? She says, I had to slap him 3 times. Was he fresh? She said, no, I thought he was dead. The circus was in town. And Father Murphy, he was hearing confessions. And one of the acrobats, she came over for confession. He says, you know, the circus, I love the circus, I love to be over there, but I have to stay here and hear confession. Perhaps you could do a little bit of your act for me. So she started doing cartwheels down the center aisle of the church. Mrs. Flaherty and Mrs. Hogan are coming in. Mrs. Flaherty says, glory be to God. Look what Father Murphy's giving out for penance, and me with a hole in me undies. Oh. O'Reilly had this racehorse. It was the fastest horse in all of Ireland. The only trouble was, every time the horse got to the finish line, it'd veer off to the left, and he'd lose. So he went down to see Danaher, the vet. He told him the story of his horse. He says, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Danaher says, well, you've got to give him a little bit of lead. He says, how do you do that? He says, with a gun. Father O'Reilly, before in a little village where he was located, he'd always take a little constitutional walk around the square to get some fresh air. This particular night, he comes by the tavern. It's after closing hours, and they're still in there. He goes in. He says, alcohol will be the ruination of you men. You darn it, if you want to go to heaven. He says, I do. He says, stand over there. Finnegan, do you want to go to heaven? He says, do. Stand over there. O'Reilly, do you want to go to heaven? O'Reilly says, no. The priest says, you mean to tell me, O'Reilly, when you die, you don't want to go to heaven? When I die, yes. I thought you're going now. I don't know how many of you people have been down to Lynn lately, but it's kind of a rough city. You know, they have a beautiful common there with all the grass and all the trees. And the nuns, they just opened a new convent. There's a big sign, Our Lady of the Ammunition. So I went down to the hotel to check in, and the clerk, he asked me if I want a room with a shower or a bath, thinking there was a difference in price. I said, well, what's the difference? He said, well, with a shower, you have to stand up. So I go to my room, and I walk in, and I see a little bureau. I open the drawer, I take out this book. It's the Holy Bible. You open the first page, it said, if you're an alcoholic, call this number. I called it. It was Cappy's Liquor Store. I called Dial a Prayer, they told me to go to hell. So, in the morning, I went across the street to St. Mary's, and Father O'Malley was saying Mass. Stand fast and the Lord will protect you. Stand fast and the Lord will protect you. Just then a breeze came and blew the cassock open. There's a 38 revolver at his hip. So of course I waited until after Mass was over. I went down and I said, Father, I believe everything you said to stand fast, but I noticed that you're packing a 38 revolver. He said, oh, that's just to hold them off till he gets here. Oh, O'Reilly over there in Ireland, he had these pills. These 5 pills he bought to make you young. Before he could take it, he'd come to America. And he was over here working here a couple of years. He says, I think I'll go back home and see what's going on. So as this train is pulling into the little village, he looks out the window, and there's this beautiful Irish colleen with a flaming red hair with a baby carriage and a baby. So as he's getting off the train, this lovely voice says, how are you, son? Who are you? I'm your mother. You can't. You know those pills you left on the bureau to make you young? I took one. Who's that in the baby carriage? That's your father. He took 2. Oh, Sister O'Malley was living in the convent, and she took a vow of poverty. She won the lottery, £50,000. So she didn't know what to do, so she went downtown in a little village. You saw a guy with all raggedy clothes and everything, and she gave him the money. She said, Godspeed, and went back to the convent. That night there's a knock on the door. It's the old guy with a shopping bag full of money. She said, what happened? He said, Godspeed came in at 50 to 1. Now Murphy used to like to have a couple of drinks after his job. And when he would come home, he'd take a shortcut to the cemetery. On this particular night, there was a grave dug for a funeral for the following morning, and he fell in the hole and he couldn't get out. So he's in there all night, and as the sun comes up, he's peeking over the top. He says, glory be to God, it's Judgment Day, and I'm the first one up. So his wife says, I'll put a stop to this. So she gets a big sheet. She's hiding behind a headstone, and he's tramping through the cemetery, and she jumps on, she goes, ha ha, I'm the devil. He says, shake hands, I'm married to your sister. Finnegan's on this train. The first time he's ever been to England, and he's on this train, it's going to London, and the only other person in that car is this woman right across from him. So he's sitting there minding his own business. And suddenly she says, I know you're kind. First thing you know, you're going to come over here, put your arm around me, and you're going to start nuzzling me and kissing me and hugging and squeezing me. I won't do it, Rivers, I won't do it, I won't. She said, get the hell out, let somebody in who will. O'Reilly and his wife found this brand new apartment. It was glorious, it was wonderful. The only trouble was when the landlord came to get the money for the rent, he asked her, do you have any trouble? She said, it's only one problem. When the trains go by, the vibration nearly knocks you right out of your bed. She says, there's a train coming in a few minutes. Why don't you come upstairs and lie on the bed next to me and you'll experience what I'm talking about. So they go upstairs, they lie side by side. Glory be to God who comes home with Murphy. He comes upstairs, what the hell's going on here? He says. The landlord said, would you believe we're waiting for a train? Murphy all his life, he wanted one of those Yamaha, the beautiful motorcycle. Finally he had enough money, he bought one. And he's in a little village where he lived. He had his friend O'Reilly get on the back. And they go about 100 feet. O'Reilly says, stop, stop. He says, I'm freezing. He says, don't take your coat off, turn around, button up the back. Then you'll be all set. They do that, they go, then he falls off in the middle of the road. So he has to come back, and all the farmers are gathered around his friend. He says, how is he? How is he? Can he speak? One farmer says he was doing pretty good till he turned his head around right. There's this woman. She's 84 years old. And she's been found guilty by the jury of murder. And the judge says, is there anything that you'd like to say before I impose judgment on you? She says, yes. She says, when I came home and saw my 94-year-old husband in bed with another woman, I got so angry and just threw him right off the edge of the porch upstairs. I said, look, if he can make love to a woman at age 94, I thought maybe he could fly too. You like that? I'm going to give you my last one. This is the one, this one's kind of, in my church, the Catholic Church, we have a service called Hailing Service. So Father Murphy, you see, this particular day was having a healing service. So he looks out front, and here's O'Reilly. He's got a broken hip, a broken leg. He says, you, O'Reilly, come up here. So O'Reilly puts the crutches under each arm, hobbles up. The priest touches each hip. He says, throw away your crutches. He's cured. Glory be to God. And Finnegan's blind. Come up here, Finnegan. And he goes up. The priest touches each eye socket. He can see. He looks in the last row, and he sees Flaherty ducking down. He says, you, Flaherty, come down here. Flaherty says, don't touch me, Father. I'm on workman's compensation. Thank you.